Yep, that was me. Stay tuned for more. I'll show you the whole thing. What I'm going to do today actually is take you through an entire move out. And yes, I fell off the ladder at this move out. That was my own fault. I have no problem admitting that I constantly keep making mistakes. Anyways, this is a small move out. I thought it would be a great example to take you all along, show you every single step of the way through doing all the work, as well as bring you home and show you the invoicing process, how I'm going to word things, how I'm going to explain the things that I didn't get done, setting up for future work, sending out the invoice, etc. So this is a move out beginning to end. Without further ado, let's jump in. Now, as you can see, I'm not very smart. I'm climbing up on the not a step portion of the ladder. I don't recommend you do that. I'll likely do it again, but I don't recommend you do. So when I first arrive at the job site, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my work order to make sure there's nothing that needs to be done before everything else. And the way I identify that is things like mud, or sealant that's going to need to set for a while, or paint that's going to need to dry or require multiple coats. Anything that's going to be a multi-part that I have to wait in between, I'm going to try to knock that out at the very beginning when I first get there, so that I don't find myself in a position where I'm now having to wait around a lot longer for no reason other than I didn't start some of the things that are going to need set times right away. Otherwise, I literally just start at the very top of my list, and I just start going down the list. So the first thing on my list for this one was smoke detectors. So I grabbed my smoke detectors, grabbed my ladder. I didn't have my tall ladder because I thought these were going to be 8-foot ceilings, and this ladder is tall enough for me to reach smoke detectors on 8-foot ceilings. So I decided to go ahead and just use the small ladder, which is what resulted in me falling. But my general process is just simply to start at the very top of the list and start working my way down. And while I'm working my way down, what I'm doing is I'm trying to complete every single task that I can complete with the tools and materials that I have on hand with me. And if I reach a point where I have to go to Home Depot or Ace Hardware or somewhere else to acquire something more, I don't stop what I'm doing and go. Instead, I stop what I'm doing and I write it down on a list, and then I move on to the next job, and I take that next job, and by job I just mean task, at this current job. I move on to the next task, and I complete it if I can, and if I can't, then I write down what I'm going to need to complete it, and then I move on to the next one, so that eventually I get to the end of my list, and at the very, very end of the list, I'm finally able to see everything that I'm going to need to purchase, so that if I leave this property, I only have to leave this property one time. However, I have put together a pretty thorough inventory, and I am pretty thorough with my tools other than the ladder this time, so typically I don't need to leave the property, especially if I review the work order before I head out so that I can just stop and pick up anything that I think I might end up needing. So on this particular job, I did 5 smoke detectors. The next thing I'm going to do is a shut-off valve in the bathroom because the property manager said it was leaking and the water to the house was turned off. There's the valve right there. There's my shut-off valve kit. I do highly recommend kits, you guys. They're very convenient. That's why I don't have to go to Home Depot, which means I can get this job done very, very quickly. And because I get it done quickly, while still charging the same amount of money most of the time, that basically ends up making me a lot more profitable on a per hour or per minute or per unit of time basis. Now what you see me doing here right now is getting my backup wrench on this valve. This is a compression valve here, so it's got a nut on the pipe that screws onto the valve itself with a piece of copper that gets compressed in the middle. You do have to use backup wrenches on these. If you just try to start unscrewing that nut, you're going to twist the copper inside the wall and you're going to ruin a joint in the wall, and then you're going to have to get up inside there and cut out drywall and repair the drywall after you repair the pipe that you messed up. So always, always, always use your backup wrench. I also try to make sure, as you can see here, that I have my new valve ready to go on before I pull the old valve off, because a little bit of water is going to come out and you don't want things to get any more wet than absolutely necessary. And the exact same thing applies as well when you're putting the new one back on. You don't want to torque this pipe in any particular direction. The other thing I want you to notice here is just how quick this process was. There is some stuff you didn't see that's not on camera, but if you already have your EDC bag with your tools, and if you've already got your kit, and your kit has the correct valve in it, this process that you're watching here is basically the whole process for the valve. Now, I also had to drain the toilet, I had to disconnect the supply line that goes to the toilet and stuff, but really, this is, a 10 to 15 minute job at the most, and that does include heading out to the vehicle to grab a few things and bring it inside. Up next, I'm going to be showing you a door stopper and a toilet paper holder repair that I did. For the toilet paper holder, I'm going to go over some of this later when we dive into the invoice, but for the toilet paper holder, I usually put toggle bolts in, and my line items usually say that, my custom ones. However, this one actually had super great solid hardware in the wall, so I did not do that. All I did was just basically take the mount off, look at everything. I tightened down the hardware that was in the wall, put the screws back in, and this is a solid toilet paper holder now. And then on the other side of your screen, you see me doing a door stop, and the deal with the door stop was that it was missing, so the door slammed into the wall. What you see me doing here, or what you just saw me doing here, was removing the nub that was left from the old door stop with a set of pliers. I'm now installing the new door stop, and again, you're watching this real time. This is all the work, guys, is so stupid easy. It's the running the business part that's hard, not the work. So I've got the new door stop on already, and now I'm going to put a plate on the wall, and the reason I'm going to put the plate on is because I'm doing no other patch and paint at this property. It would cost them more for me to pull all my stuff out just to patch and paint this one little ding than it does to just put a wall guard. And now in the future, if that door stopper breaks off again, there's a wall guard there to prevent future damage to the wall. And finally, we get into the part that I know you guys want to see more than anything, so I'm going to stop my voiceover at about the point that I'm going to be falling, but I want you to notice how confidently I fall off this ladder. Now, what I want you to imagine as you watch this is Peter Griffin going, ah, ah. Alright, so that was all the video I got of the work that I did at the property. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to head back home, get on the computer, and invoice this job. So I'm going to take you into my software and show you not only my invoicing process, but more of the specifics about how and why I word things the way that I word them. So I'll be doing this in Jobber. Just so you guys know, I've used Jobber to run my business for the last 3.5 years. It's been absolutely instrumental to my business. I'm also a brand ambassador with Jobber, which means I have an affiliate link in the description of this video for your free 14-day trial that's going to come with 20% off for the first 6 months if you do get to the end of the trial and decide you want to purchase it. So if you like Jobber, please use my link. You'll also get that extra 20% off for 6 months. But now what we're going to do is we're going to dive into the software, and I'm just going to take you step by step through my entire invoicing process so you can see how and why I do things the way I do. And then we'll get this invoice sent out, and that will be the entire move out completely closed out. All right, guys, here we go with the invoicing. I actually just recorded all of this. It took about an hour to really do this thorough recording. When I finished up, realized I didn't hit the record button. So what I've done is I'm going to show you this real quick, just so you know you can do this. See this create similar job right here? This duplicates the entire job, and then you just need to add the client, and then you need to go down to the bottom and add any internal notes and pictures back in to duplicate a job. So what I've done is I've duplicated the job with this, and I'm going to take you through the process of invoicing this move out that we just did. So I'm just going to start at the top here, and what I did too when I duplicated it was I just created a fake client because we're in my actual Handyman business's account rather than my demo account. I wanted to show you a real one that I was doing. I was going to previously be like censoring and blacking out all of this information. And then I realized I'll just create a fake client. So then you're not seeing anybody's information and I don't have to go black it out. So this would be your client name right here. And then this here is sort of the title line for this job. You type whatever you want in there. It comes by default. It says for services rendered. You put whatever you want in there. So what I do is I highlight the address, I copy it, and then I come up here and I paste it in. And for move outs, what I do is I put the address dash move out dash owner or tenant, because they're going to have two separate work orders, because some stuff is the tenant's responsibility to pay and some stuff is the owner's. So if it's a move out, I'm going to have two most of the time, and it's going to say the address dash move out dash owner or dash tenant. Over here on the right, it's just some of your job details. We're not worried about those. And then right here, so this is how I write these. This is the original job before I went and added all of this to it. The original work order that I create in this software for myself, I put one line item in that says original request. And then I literally copy and paste the exact request that I received. And if I receive it in a text message, I forward that to my email account so that I can copy and paste it here on the computer. But this is always going to be word for word exactly what they asked me to do. And the reason for that is sometimes they'll ask you to do something. They'll use certain wording. You'll do exactly what it is that they asked, and then they'll come back later thinking you did or didn't do something that's not fitting with the scope of work, because they intended to say something else, but they didn't. So we're always going to go off of this original request when deciding what scope of work we do. So let's read over their original request. Please complete the following: check smoke detectors and change hardware if expired, clean out dryer vent, entry add doorstop, there is damage from the handle due to lack of a stopper, primary bathroom valve to toilet is broken and leaking when on. This could be why water to house is off, toilet paper holder is loose, kitchen, caulking on the counters. Now I want to show you something. You see how this property manager said to change the valve on a toilet for number 4. And then at the very end of number 4, she puts a comma and then says toilet paper holder is loose. Here's what I don't like about this is when you get in a hurry, and we're always in a hurry because we're trying to make money. When you get in a hurry and you're checking over this list to see what you're going to do, you're going to read primary bathroom valve to toilet and you're going to go, boom, got that one done. Next line. You got to read these through all the way. Pay very close attention to every word that they say before you leave the property. Read this over slowly and carefully. And again, read every single word. Now, right here, it says added. And here's one of the things that I'm talking about with having this original request. So when I copied and pasted this, this had already been added. But what's happened here is the original request was sent and it only included 1 through 5. Later on, she came back before I got it in my software and she added, please check all window alarms to ensure functioning. And she added laundry room door stopper is in place, but there is an old dent from the handle. So the reason I do this original request is let's say I would have put this in my software before she added something. She never told me that she edited this at all. I never got a notification. It was just by luck that I copied and pasted this after she added something. So if I were to have done this move out and invoiced everything without having this added part here, and if she came back and said, I want you to go back and do this, but I don't want you to charge me a separate trip fee because that should have been done on the original work order, I can come back and say, do you see your original request here? This is what you asked me for. You're allowed to edit, but if you're going to edit it after you send it to me, you need to notify me that you've edited. It's not my job to go into your software every single day and open up every single one of your jobs, maybe multiple times a day, just to see if you changed your mind on something. So it's your job to let me know if you change the scope of work on a job. Otherwise, I will have to charge a trip fee to go back and do this. And then finally, she adds, please prioritize the toilet valve so that we can get the water turned back on for cleaning and carpet cleaning. Do not exceed $350 or provide estimate. Now, the reason this says do not exceed $350 or provide estimate is because up here, this is an owner move out. So if it's the tenant has, let's say, a $1,500 deposit. So as long as everything we do fits within that tenant's deposit, then it just costs what it costs. If it's the owner, there is no deposit. The owner's going to be paying this out of pocket. And the deal they have with the owners is any work that needs to be done under 350, they can just assign out and get done without approval. But if it's over 350, they need an estimate to send to the owner for approval. So the idea here is they send a list, and it doesn't matter if it's 2 items or 35 items. It's always going to end with this property manager and with very many others. It's always going to end by saying, do not exceed $350 or provide estimate. And even if they don't write that in there, my other property managers, I know what that number is for each of them. And I know that I can't exceed certain numbers on certain types of jobs without providing an estimate. So the idea now is going to be, if I can do everything for 350, I'll do everything for 350. If I can't, I'll prioritize the toilet first because that's what they asked for. And then after I prioritize the toilet, then I'll go through here and do everything I can do up to $350, and whatever's left, I'll send them an estimate for the remainder of the work that needs to be done. Now let's come down, and this is all the line items that I have now added when I wasn't recording earlier when I was trying to record this for you. So I'm going to show you how I add these, and then I'm going to come back up here and we're going to go through each of them because they all have some meaning. So let's say I was still doing this and there was more line items. This is how I add these. We start off with original request and nothing else. And then I click this new line item button. And as you saw up top, the first one was the trip fee. So because I have my customized, in fact, here's my customized line items. These are all the custom line items I built. By the way, you can go to the description of this video and all my videos. At the very bottom is going to be a link to request my business documents. If you click that link, you'll be directed ultimately to a page where you can download lots of different documents. One of those documents is my CSV files. I don't recall the name I put on it, but it's a CSV file, and it's my custom line items CSV file. You can download that file, and if you do, you'll get all, I want to say I have about 150 of these that I've made. You'll get all of them in a CSV file, and then you can go into your Jobber account. And I'm not going to show you how right here, right now, but use the settings button and go find your custom line items, and you'll be able to import all of mine into your Jobber account. And I don't recommend you use them as is. I do recommend that you read through them, see if they match your style of work description with your type of work that you do. Check the numbers and see what numbers you want to make them, because your prices are going to be different than mine, but it's a good place to start. But anyways, so let's come back here. Let's delete this. We're going to say new line item. And the very first thing I'm going to have on here is the move out trip fee. So I'll just type trip, and then boom, there's trip fee, comma, move out. There's also trip fee that's not a move out. It's for a different type of job. But trip fee move out, I'm going to click that. It's going to auto populate. It's always going to say quantity 1 right off the bat. It's going to have the pricing on here. And let's read this. This line item covers the trip fee for a move out and includes the following: admin, receiving, assigning, parts ordering, invoicing. Also includes drive time, inspecting and measuring, trips for acquiring materials, and general cleanup and waste disposal. So what I'm trying to get across with this trip fee move out is because move outs are bigger. And because they're bigger, there's going to be more driving, more trips to the store, more planning, more parts ordering. So this trip fee does not cover any labor on the job. This trip fee only covers all of the things that don't occur with tools in my hand at the house. And that's going to automatically get applied to the very top line item of every single work order. So I'm going to delete this, but I want you to see how I add these. And if we wanted to add any other one, we can just come in here and scroll down. If I did a bathroom faucet replacement, it looks like I've got that set at $100. Got a description. I would just click on it, auto populate, change the quantity if we did more than one. If there's 5 of them, it's $500. It updates here. It updates all the way down. Where's the total? Oh, it doesn't have the total in here. Oh, there it is, 435, hypothetically right there. But anyways, we're going to delete this. And we're just going to go through all of these. I just wanted you to see how I put them on there. So we did 5 smoke detectors. So labor, comma, smoke detector, comma, hardwired, comma, replace, install, because we could have materials for smoke detectors. So we have labor, smoke detector, hardwired. I also have one for battery operated. Replace, install. I also have one for just replacing batteries. So quantity 5, it updates all the way over here at the end to $60. This says $12 right here. It actually was set at 10. I'm doing them at 12 now just because over time I've tracked the time on it more and more. In fact, let me show y'all something. This is kind of neat. So when I was filming the smoke detector replacements, what I was doing was setting the camera up, getting everything focused and ready, lighting correct, and then I'm hitting record, and then I'm walking out of the room, and I'm coming back into the room with a ladder, setting it down, and doing the entire smoke detector replacement. And what I noticed after 5 of them was that they all seem to be about 3 minutes and a few seconds each. So I take that few seconds as being turning the camera on and walking away to get the ladder. So basically, we're doing 3 minutes per smoke detector. And if we want $100 an hour on the job with tools in our hands, then that's $1.66 per minute. So let's bring up a calculator here. Bring the calculator. You can't see the calculator, it looks like, but I've got my calculator up. So if these take me 3 minutes each times 1.66 to give me $100 an hour, that comes to $4.98 that I need to charge per smoke detector, including the time it takes to carry the ladder over and stuff. So $4.98, call that $5 per smoke detector. I have been at 10, now I've bumped it up to 12. And of course, that's going to take me a couple minutes to go out to the van and get my smoke detectors, and the screwdriver basically is the only other tool. But aside from that, I'm essentially doing these for more than double what it costs me if I want to be making $100 an hour. So we've got the labor times 5 for the smoke detectors is $60. We've got materials for the smoke detectors. I just now increased the cost of these up to 20 here. And the reason for that is because the smoke detector prices are actually going up. And I don't know if this is temporary, but at the time I'm filming this, smoke detectors just got like 30% more expensive, at least here in Tucson. I don't know what the deal is because they were significantly cheaper just a couple weeks ago, but I've got my materials cost in there times 5. That's $100 in materials. Next one is labor, dryer vent cleaning. And again, these are all custom line items. All I had to do was just click new line item. And then at the top, or not at the top, right here where you in the line item, you can just start typing. See, just type the letter H, and it's got labor TP holder, probably for that H and the TP holder. But all you got to do is start typing, say bar, boom, labor towel bar. So you don't have to remember exactly what you named these. They're going to autofill for you. But that's all you got to do. So trip fee, smoke detectors, dryer vent cleaning. Now this is a $15 dryer vent cleaning, which only includes the hose at the bottom of the dryer and the entrance of the duct that goes up. We're not cleaning the whole duct out. We're just cleaning where the dryer hooks up to the wall and the tube that goes from the dryer to the wall. That's all we're cleaning for that $15. I also have another line item for $100 if they want us to run the tool up that cleans out the whole duct top to bottom. Next, we've got labor, comma, doorstop, comma, install. So this, notice I said applies to all styles of doorstops, wall guards, or hinge-mounted doorstops. And I'm charging $8 each for these for the labor. And I did 3 of them. The way I did 3 of them was I did one new doorstop behind the front door because it was missing a doorstop and the wall had damage. So down at the floor, I put an actual doorstop in, and that's a doorstop. However, where the door was hitting the wall, they want that repaired. They want that taken care of one way or another. Now, if in this house I was doing a patch and paint, I would have done where the door hit the wall during the patch and paint because I would have had my hot mud out already. I would have been bringing out my paint brushes and getting them dirty with paint and having to clean them off and all of that extra stuff that comes with doing a small patch and painting. However, because I wasn't going to be doing that, I've saved them money by just putting in a flat adhesive wall guard on the wall for these guys. And what that does is it means they're just paying me the $8 to put the wall guard on, plus the $5 for the actual materials cost of the wall guard itself. So they're paying 13 instead of whatever it was I would need to charge to go out to the van, get my hot mud out, get my plastic bags out, get my paintbrush out, all the tools, mix the hot mud, patch a teeny tiny little hole, and paint over that hole, clean my paintbrush out, clean all my stuff off, put it all away. That's going to be more expensive than this wall guard. And the wall guard also means that if they break that doorstop off in the future, which I don't know why, but every move out I do, half the door stops have been broken off. So if it breaks off again, instead of the door damaging the wall yet again, instead it's just going to hit that wall guard. And then when the next move out comes up, we'll see that we need a new door stop. We'll put a new door stop on, and there won't ever be a big hole in the wall for us to patch. And then, as you saw, I have materials doorstop, and this applies to hinge mounted wall guard or spring, all three of them. I just averaged them out at $5 each. Some are more expensive, some are less, but I like these averages because, again, it makes everything quick. All I had to do was type DOOR, hit enter, and then all of a sudden I populate it to 3. It already knows the price. It totals everything up for me. Really super fast and efficient. Next is a shut-off valve. Nothing much to see here, just a shut-off valve. Again, they're custom line items. This one also needed a supply line for the toilet, which I didn't have a custom line item made for yet. So I haven't, instead of clicking this one from the line items down here, I just wrote this one by hand. And then next, I keep a running list of new line items I need to create, because when I sit down to create them, I want to go look up all the possible materials costs. I want to take a moment to think about all the possible things that could go wrong, how long it usually takes me, so I can really truly come up with one price where, yes, some will take longer, some will be shorter, some will take a slightly more expensive material, some will take a slightly cheaper one. But I like just having one line item with one price. It keeps everything uniform. The property managers like it. I like it. It makes it easier for everybody. Same thing with the TP holder. I do actually have a TP holder line item that I would typically put here, but it specifies that I'm going to replace the hardware with new hardware with toggle bolts. Now on this one of the very few times I didn't do that, and the reason I didn't do it was it actually had really great hardware in place. It just needed to be tightened down a little bit, but the hardware was really good hardware that did not need to be replaced. So instead of using my custom line item, which says I'm using toggle bolts, I don't want to lie, even though they're never going to know. So instead, I just created a new line item here that said TP holder tightened TP holder, charged $10 for it. It only took me a couple minutes. And then finally, now if you look, these last two are $0, and yet we're already up to $435 here, which is above that $350 limit. And this is intentional because basically when I showed up, what I said to myself was, okay, with a $350 limit plus the materials I know I'm going to be using, I'm going to knock out everything I can knock out in about an hour. So I'm going to charge them $350. And then if you look down here, so here's my materials. I'll show you these expenses in a minute, but $131.72. Let's say I used a few consumables as well, maybe account for a little bit of gas. So we could just call that a flat $150. So we got $150 worth of materials for a job that has a $350 limit, which means there's $200 left for me. So in my mind, I say, okay, I'm going to knock out everything I can in 1 hour and charge $350 for that. I'm just going to discount anything that's left. The reason I do that is, number one, because they really appreciate the discounts, because I do put line items on here. That I put it on this one? I have not put it on this one, so I'll be adding a line item that tells them I did a discount. That especially going to the homeowner, because they're going to see this. So rather than thinking, man, this guy's expensive, they're going to think, man, this guy gave me a discount. That's awesome. But either way, I get paid more than $100 an hour for my time, and I get paid a very good rate even for all of my driving time and stuff. So I'm happy, they're happy, everybody's happy. Now let's look at these last two. Countertop caulking not completed. Obviously, yeah, I could have done this. I'd have made less money. I'd have had to given them such a steep discount if I use my billing system. that it just would have been an absurd discount. And I don't want them expecting these all the time. And I especially don't want them expecting them to be big discounts. So I let them know that I didn't complete it. I said, we did not complete the countertop caulking due to the job already being over budget and heavily discounted. Please send a new work order to have us return to the property for a trip fee of $125 plus materials to accomplish countertop caulking and any other additional items you may want completed. And that's because typically they end up going back to that property and they see more stuff that's wrong that they missed the first time. So almost anytime I do a move out, I'm going to get a follow-on work order to go back and fix more things. And that only happens if and when I don't do my own inspections. Right now, I'm in a particular phase where I'm not looking for extra work because I'm more than busy enough, and I'm trying to do a lot with you guys here on YouTube too. Like the time I'm just putting into that I put into filming all of this, and the time I'm putting into editing this, filming this, doing this invoice twice to take you through it, all of that time I want to be doing this. I'm not looking for a whole lot of extra work. So I didn't do an inspection. I'm not required to, nor have they ever asked me to. But when I want extra work, I do an inspection and I make an estimate. But I would do a big estimate with optional line items for all of the new things I found that they didn't find. So I didn't do the countertop caulking. They can send me a new work order for that. Also, they asked me to check those window alarms. And I told them we checked the window alarms, none of which are functioning. It's likely that they all need new batteries, which we cannot include in this work order, given that it is already over budget and discounted. We would happily return to the property on a second work order to replace all of the batteries in all of the windows for a trip fee of $125 plus materials. However, we cannot guarantee that this will fix the problem, so it may be wise to assign this job to an alarm company or specialist. There are a total of 10 window alarms that are not functioning. So here's what I've really said here. It's not about me saying we didn't fix them. That's easy enough. What this is really about is this part. However, we cannot guarantee that this will fix the problem, so it may be wise to assign this job to an alarm company or specialist. If they want us to go back and replace these batteries, and if I never said we cannot guarantee this will fix the problem, if instead I would have said they need new batteries, then if they send me a work order and I say I'm going to do it for 125 plus materials, and I go back and I put the batteries in and spend all the money on the materials, and it still doesn't work, they're now going to expect me to make it work, to figure out what's wrong, troubleshoot, put the time in that's necessary, and honor this $125. So what I've basically said here is, hey, I think they need new batteries, but I'm not an expert in alarm systems. So if you would like me to put new batteries in, I can. However, it may not work. And the implication here is I'm still going to invoice for that time, and I'm not going to just fix it all for 125 no matter what it takes. I'm setting the standard and saying I can go back and put batteries in for 125, and that may or may not fix the problem, but I'll still charge my 125. All right, so now let's go ahead and do this new line item, and we're going to call it discount. And I'll pause this while I type everything out, and then I'll read it to you. All right, so I wrote, this move out went over the budget, but we are discounting the invoice for the work completed down to the $350 limit. Please send a follow-on work order for any additional items you would like us to address and save. So I've just made it very clear. In case they didn't notice, we did more work than what we're charging them for. Now, right here, this is the labor line. This is where I put in how much time I spent on this job. My son would also put this in if it was one of his jobs, and if I have other subcontractors, I can have them put their labor in here. And all this does is just track your time. Let's look at new time entry. So I put in, and I just made up the times themselves. It didn't really matter. I just wanted to document the actual amount of time that I put into this job. So I said from 3:27 to 4:27 p.m., simply because I know that I put about an hour into it. I was at the property longer than that because I was filming and whatnot. And then, of course, there's drive time to account for, but I'm calling it 1 hour. I just picked some random times just for the sake of documenting that I did actually put an hour into it. In fact, this says 5:10 because that's today. And of course, it was yesterday, 5:09. There's the employee. And I can open this drop down and I can go through lots of different people that I have in my system. Each of those people that you saw on that drop down, each of those people has a jobber account under my account. So they're not paying for it. They can't use it for themselves, but they become a user under my jobber account. So when I create a job, there's a tab to click for who to assign the job to, and I could click any one of their names to assign that job to them, and it'll show up viewable to them only with the information that I want them to be able to view on the Jobber app on their phone or on their PC or wherever, and it'll send them an email notifying them that they've had a job assigned to them. That's how I send my son all of his work. When I put in new jobs and assign them to my son, he just goes in his Jobber account and they all show up there so he can see the same thing I can see, with the exception of anything that I don't give his account permissions to view or edit. You can also put the employee cost in here. So I can come and say $100 an hour or whatever the rate is. If it was like a very unskilled laborer just doing some landscaping, maybe it'd be 25 per hour, and save time entry. And of course, now I don't need both of these. We're just doing an example here. I'm just showing you that you can keep adding these into here. I put my original one for you guys. I actually put an hour and a half to account for the drive time as well. Although it was an hour almost from my house, it was more than 50 minutes. But typically, what I would be doing was I would have more than one job scheduled on this day. So I would be in town already. So this job wouldn't be more than 30 minutes from me. I live clear on the other side of town, but I also knew that I wanted to film so I could make this video for you guys. So I didn't schedule any other work at all. I just set the day aside for content. I took my time. I left later in the day. I arrived. I stayed more organized and was more methodical about things just to make sure that I really documented the process for y'all. So for me, even though it was an hour there and an hour back, on a typical work day, that really just would have been 30 minutes to get there. And then I never include the time leaving the job, because you can't charge somebody for the time it took to drive there and to the next job, because then you'd have that next job charging for the time to drive there and to the next job, and you're double charging. So you either charge for drive time to each job or drive time from each job. And since the job can't control how far away the next job's going to be or whether they're the first or the last job of the day, I just simply try to account for the drive time to each job, which would have been maximum a half an hour if I already would have been in town. So let's see, let's delete this just so we have some good accurate numbers. So let's say $156 is what it costs my company for me to go do that job. That's my labor pay is $156. And then here's the expenses: the supply line, the smoke detectors, the shutoff valve, the door stops. You can go into new expense. Let's say I needed to add an expense, like maybe I needed to drive down to the nearest Circle K really quick and get one 9-volt battery because one smoke detector was beeping. If I had needed to do that, I would come in here and I would just say 9-volt battery. I'm not worried about accounting codes. For description, I'd literally just say the same thing, 9-volt battery, except maybe I'd say times 1, just so I know it was only 1. Put the date in there, put the total in there. Maybe that one 9-volt battery was $8 at Circle K, and then reimburse too. So if my son is out and he has to go somewhere where I don't have a business account set up for him to purchase off of, if he spends money out of his own account, so say he bought this 9-volt battery, then when he's filling this out, and you can fill these out on the phone app, on a tablet, on a laptop, a PC, doesn't matter where you're at, it's accessible. So he would go typically into his phone and he would say reimbursable to Aaron Duke. So there we go. Now I have a record inside here. As soon as this gets saved, I have a record that I owe him, that the business owes him that money. So it doesn't look like that's a paycheck, which he needs to pay income taxes on. That's going to be a separate type of reimbursement that is not income for him to be paying taxes on. So anytime he spends his money, he does that. And then you can click on add receipt, and you can either, what it'll do if you're on your phone is it can open up your camera on your phone so you can take a picture of this, the receipt, and upload it here. and it'll stay here. Or if you have a digital copy, you can just navigate to it, double click on it, and upload it. Or here at home, if I wanted to go, say it was in my Home Depot account, just as an example, if it was in my Home Depot account, then what I would be doing is opening up the Home Depot account, opening up that receipt, saving it as a file, and putting it into here if I wanted to. I don't need to do that because I have the Home Depot account. That's kind of the whole point, is it's already tracking it for me. So I don't need proof of it on here. But you could add the receipt if you want as well, and then click Save Expense. And that's how you do these expenses. So now we're looking at, let's just call this 156, call it 160 labor and 140 for materials. So that's going to be a total of what, $300. So $300 covered my paycheck, covered all the expenses for the job, not the overhead for the entire business. But now there's basically $50 left over because I'm charging $350. So the business didn't exactly profit 50 because first some little tiny chunk of insurance, jobber software, all that other stuff comes out of this job as well. But that helps you with the expense tracking. So before I show you this visits tab, I'm going to bring you down to the bottom right here where this says internal notes and attachments. Something you need to know about this is the word internal. What this means is that unless you go out of your way to click buttons to share these internal notes and attachments, these stay internal to the company. So your clients, through their client portal, although they can see that you have a job open for them, and they can see certain things that you've selected for them to be able to see or not to be able to see, anything under this line right here of internal notes and attachments is not going to be available to them. So this is where you take your notes. So I can type anything I want to remember about this property manager, about the way this job went, about if there was tenants here and the tenants were like really picky, or just whatever the deal is. I can make all of my notes in here. And when I save those notes, it's going to save those notes to this job forever. So I can always reference back. For example, if the tenant said something and I'm like, I better note that they said that. That way I could show my property managers later if they ask. Those internal notes go here. And then also your attachments like your photos, which you can also take on the phone app. So you don't have to take them with your phone and upload them. It's in the Jobber app on your phone. You can take your photos, get them attached to the job here. So I just wanted you to see that all of this down here is not accessible to your client for them to see. This stays internal and it's permanently attached to this job unless you delete it someday. So next, we've got our pictures uploaded. We've got all the notes. And for example, also my son. So if he goes and does a small move out, this notes details is where he's going to tell me everything that he did, every hiccup that he ran into, every problem he had. If I just want him to go get some measurements for an estimate, this is where he's going to put those measurements. He's going to upload his pictures. When he's all done, let's go ahead and save this. So when you're all done, you've done the whole visit, you've done all of this, you didn't necessarily write all of this out. You can do this at home later on in the day like I do. But when you're done with this visit, you've uploaded your expenses, you've tracked your time, everything's ready. You come to this visits tab, and this is your appointment here. So I'm going to click this, and it's going to give me some options. I can say mark complete, and that's going to close out the job. That will complete, it's going to complete the visit, but it's not going to close out the job. And again, here's how this works. For example, my son will be on a job, he finishes, he puts his work description in, he uploads his pictures, everything's all done. He's going to click mark complete, and then he's going to either click close job, schedule new visit, or leave as action required. He's never going to close the job. I close the job. So now he's got to either schedule a new visit or leave as action required. If he needs to return to this job to finish up tomorrow for some reason, he can click schedule new visit and he can schedule his next visit. That way I'll see that this visit was completed along with his notes and photos, but I can also see that he scheduled a return trip. Or if he's done, completely done, doesn't need to return, he's ready for me to invoice, he'll click leave as action required. And when you leave as action required, the job still stays open, but the visit is closed. And then when I come in here to my computer to invoice, I click on jobs, it opens up all my jobs and it organizes them. Jobs that are late, jobs that are action required, jobs that are unscheduled, and jobs that are archived. So I can go to his action required section and open each one, read his notes, use his notes to come up here and do all of this and get the job invoiced and attach the pictures, etc. So now we've done that. I want to show you guys one more thing. So we're going to do a new visit. I'm not worried about any of the details. Let's just say save because I'm going to redo this anyways. So I've created a new visit. Here we go. So there's the completed visit. Now here's the new visit. Let's open this visit up and we're going to come look at some of this stuff. So here's notes. There's the notes and the pictures. This is job forms. If I wanted extra work, I would be doing this move out inspection, which is also available through my documents. And as you can see, this is a very thorough move out inspection. I put a lot of time, like a good year probably, into slowly adding to this as I inspected. See, I'm still going. I inspected more and more properties until I figured out everything I want to check for. So oftentimes what I do is I attach this job form. This is inside Jobber. I'll attach this job form to the job so that when I get to the job, when I see things that I do want to write up and make an extra estimate for to send, then I can come in here and I can type in whatever it was that I found and then take forever to scroll to the bottom because it's such a thorough inspection, and go ahead and save that form. And or my son also can open this form up, do that inspection while he's on the job so that I can go through here and use his notes to create new stuff. But anyways, there's the job forms. So let's say instead of mark complete, we're going to come over here. We can do edit, update, future visits, text reminder, email reminder, or delete. We don't want to do any of those, so we're just going to go ahead and mark this complete. And now we're going to close this job. This job is fully done. We're going to close it. So what do you do next? The job is closed. The next thing we need to do is generate an invoice. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this right here again and copy it. And I'm going to come up here to generate invoice. And then in the subject field, so this is what will go in the subject line of any emails that you send out about this. So I'm going to paste the title of that job into this subject line. All of this stays the same. Ask client for review. This is a new Jobber feature that they released like within the last month. It's part of their marketing features. And what this will do is if you say yes, then when your client gets this invoice and it gets closed out, it's going to prompt them to please go leave you a good Google review. In fact, I don't think they have to go leave it. I think they do it inside the actual Jobber software. It's just going to have them write whatever it is they want to write about you, give you 5 stars or whatever. However, it's only going to do it every 6 months. So let's click on this. Clients with multiple invoices will not receive more than 1 request within 6 months. I do property managers, so I'm doing lots of work for them, like every day. So they're only gonna, I can leave this as yes permanently, and it's not gonna ask them for a review on every job. It's just gonna ask them for a review every 6 months. Work order numbers there. These are all custom fields that I made. I can do a video showing you all how to do those. I think I did one a long time ago, but these fields do not come with Jobber. Some fields do, but these are custom fields that I've added. So when I start at the estimate level, these fields are all going to be there that I've added for whatever reason it was that I decided I wanted to add them. And they will transfer through from estimate to job to invoice, etc. All of this is already saved here. And by the way, yes, you can go ahead and not put all of this extra stuff, all of the work we did. You don't have to put that into the job. You can leave the job as just this original request, mark the job complete, and then come here into the invoice page before you start adding all this other stuff. But now let's make sure I didn't miss anything up here. Oh, look at that. They actually have a new button now, add custom field. You used to have to go to the settings. So now you can create new fields that will show up permanently on all of your estimates, etc., that you want to put in there. Any information that you decide you want to know. We're not going to go into that. I just wanted you to see that you can. This is new too, set service date. Yeah, that's lots of brand new features rolling into this all the time. It's a constant upgrade process with Jobber. That's one of the reasons they do cost a little more than some, but they move way faster than everybody. So that's everything we just did. Subtotal is 435. Let's keep in mind again, it's about an hour and a half of my time, say 30 minutes of driving and an hour of working. So an hour and a half of my time, $150 in materials. I got paid my money. The business gets paid their money if this job costs 350. However, it's at 435 in a large part due to the trip fee here, which really wasn't all that necessary on this teeny tiny little move out. I didn't need to order parts. I didn't need to go to Home Depot. I already had the inventory I need. It was super quick and simple, but nonetheless, it is over the budget on purpose. So now I'm going to add a discount. So how do we get from 435 down to 350? We're going to do a discount of $85. You can do a percentage discount or a dollar value discount. So I'm going to discount $85. I don't add taxes. That's just wrapped up into my pricing. $350 is the total. Now I can either save invoice or save and. And with this particular client, typically I would be just doing save invoice. And then I would make a PDF of it because they have their own software for me to upload invoices into. Whereas most property managers want you to email them the invoice. So even though I would typically just click save invoice and then I would go to their system to move over a PDF, I'm just going to show you how this would normally work with my other managers. Is you click save and then you can either send it as a text message or as an email. And if they have a card on file and you're authorized to, say you're a pool cleaner and you're just doing like stupid easy pool cleaning work, then you can just go ahead and collect payment if that's the deal you have set up. That if you go every other Wednesday, then on this Wednesday you went, you make the invoice, you get it all set up, and you just collect payment without them having to receive an invoice. But anyways, what we're going to do is pretend like this was one of my normal property managers that doesn't require me to do certain things within their software. I would do save and send as email. When you tell it to save and line item requires, looks like I made a line item that I don't need. Yep. So let's delete that. There we go. So save and send as email. And there's some stuff I want to show you here. So this would be your property manager's email address, whoever's going to receive the invoice. This is all standard right here. Yeah, actually, I made this part. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to probably black that out so y'all don't get my actual business's email address there. But what I want to show you is you can click this and attach a PDF of this. However, I'm not going to do that because when they open this up on their end, they also have the option of clicking a button to turn it into a PDF. So I don't junk up the email by adding that. But here's all the internal notes and attachments. These are not attached to this email at the moment, but if I want them to be, then I can click a few pictures that I would like to send, and it's going to attach them to this email when you send this invoice over. But I'm not going to do that. All I'm going to do is just click send email. And now this entire move out is done. So that's the whole process, guys. This was a nice, quick, simple, easy move out. I felt it was going to be a good example to just show you how this works. The only difference is most move outs are just going to have more line items, and they typically fall, in my experience, minimum 600, maximum 1,000. Within that range right there is going to be your average move out, where you're just replacing a handful of this and a handful of that and updating the bulbs, doing a quick patch and paint for whatever nails and screws were left in the wall. Pretty simple stuff. But this is the whole thing, guys. This is the entire move out process beginning to end. So if you do have any questions, let me know. Email me at bulletproofhandymanbusiness@gmail.com if you have any questions. Also, if you guys would like some sort of, now that I'm using StreamYard for my live streams, if a handful of y'all want some real training inside Jobber for how to do, I mean, there's a million things under the settings here. I've done some big videos on them. There's a lot going on. So if y'all want some hands-on, like live stream style, call it webinar sort of training, if I can get at least like 5 of y'all so that I know my time is being used well and it's not just one-on-one with one person, if a bunch of y'all want it, like drop a comment or something and let me know, and I'll schedule a live stream where I actually can, now that I have this software, I can finally actually go in here and y'all can ask questions and I can take you to the sections that you need to figure out how to get to show how the features work. I'm finally able to do that. So, with all that being said, there's a lot more I'd like to show you, but I love you guys. I hope you're out there killing it, and I'll see you on the next one.